Okay, so now we are pulling back in the plant. We can see somebody is under the plant. And whenever you pull in, take note of the speed limit in the area where you need to go to stage. And always pay attention to the amount of trucks in front of you and who they are, so you will know when to load. When we come back, we're going to pull under and load. When loading, always ask the batch man if there are any special instructions. Always ask who is in front of you and check your directions, your slump, and make sure you don't need to take anything with you to the job like expansion joint or cure and seal. Here I am under the plant, getting loaded. Check out the washout. We are now at the wash rack, so let's get out and wash down. Put a water hose in first. Make sure you push it down enough that it doesn't kick back out and get you wet. I've done that a few times. You can hear by the gravel that it's pretty dry. Make sure you wash down correctly. Make sure you get everything. Get in your hopper and the front of your fins. Depending on what your slump is and what it is supposed to be, makes a difference on how much you wash down your fins. I'm supposed to have a 1 slump, so I did not do much of a wash on my fins till I check my slump when I get back in the truck. I pretty much do the same wash every time to make sure I get everything. Now let's go down, wash the front of the truck. Always be careful because the water hoses do have a lot of pressure. You got to hold on to them. Make sure they don't kick out of your hands. Always make sure your chute is good and clean. Rinse any rock, anything like that off your fenders. Make sure your windows, your mirrors are clean. It's very important. Now we'll get back in the truck and check our slump. now that you have the slump that you need, scan your gauges just to make sure you're not running hot, make sure you have enough fuel, and lower your tags. If you need fuel, this is where you stop at. Pull up here, grab you some fuel, and head to the job. Okay, it looks like we're arriving at the job site. I see a truck is already pouring. So we will get our chutes on and get our slump down to what it says on the ticket. So now we will find out what our slump is and put our chutes on. I'm going to call ahead to the driver in front of me. 182, Gary. It says a 6 slump on the ticket. Is that what they want?
Yeah.
Okay, we know that they do want the slump that it says on the ticket. So while I'm putting on my chutes, we're going to add water to get it up to slump. So I'll use my cruise, have my truck rev. It saves time to do this all at once. Once I add water, I should be just below 1,000 on my meter, on my slump gauge. So I'm going to hop out and put my chutes on while mixing. So, if you notice, I sprayed my chutes with water. That's a little trick. If you spray them down with water, the first concrete, wet or dry, will flow much easier. Now we will check our slump. So the truck ahead of me is still pouring. I have put on my chutes and I have my concrete down to slump. So I am ready to pour as soon as he is empty and out of the way. You'll take note that my truck put me on the job. If it does not do that, you need to put yourself on the job on your GPS, and we'll go over that a little bit later on how to use your GPS. But I am setting ready to pull up and discharge my concrete when the truck ahead of me is done. So it's my turn on the job. First thing I'm going to do is lock my truck in low and raise my hopper because it's safe to do so on this job. Start discharging a little bit and let the contractor see the slump I have and see if he wants to add water or if he wants to leave it how it is. The contractor likes my slump, so we're going to go with what I have. He has told me to just leave my chute in the middle and he'll go back and forth. Now, when you're pouring, you get a feel for how your truck will pour out the concrete. I have a paving drum on mine. Not all trucks have that. So I know to listen because it's a 2-drop instead of a steady drop into my chute. I pour along with him. I watch his body movements. If he pulls back towards his rod, I know, like he did just there, I know that he's a little low up there, so I'll kind of stay where I am. If he's pushing back towards my chute, I know that I'm a little high and I need to back up and give him room. Now I'm probably 20 maybe feet from the rod, so I'm going to stop and let them catch up, just in case they are a little high or low, wherever we happen to be. So now they've gone to rotting, and we'll do a little bit more in just a second. They're ready for me to start again. So I do have to go around a curve. What I'll do is I'll get a little bit ahead of them to where I can reach from the other side of the curve, give them a second to catch up to me, and be ready on the other side when it's time. You see, take note of how high my chute is off the ground. If you pour it a little wet, which is a 6 slump, if you leave it up just a little bit, it'll spread out easier for them and make it easier on you as you're watching it. So I'm going to stop here, let them catch up, and move around the curve. So you'll notice I poured the radius. I've repositioned myself for when they're ready to start pouring again. Always make sure that they scrape your chute whenever you have to reposition on a job, so you don't get splatter everywhere. When you're repositioning on a job, always pay attention to your surroundings. Obstacles laying on the ground, other vehicles, things of that nature. Next, we'll wash out after we're done pouring. Whenever you're done pouring and completely empty, always make sure they scrape and clean your chute so you do not get concrete on the roadway going to the designated washout pit. Most of the time you're washing out on the job unless there is a designated pit somewhere in the subdivision. So you need to check with the contractor and find out what it is you need to do. Now let's go wash out. Always make sure after pouring you write down the water they added above the slump that states on the ticket, and put down the contractor's name and give them a copy of your ticket. Whenever we get set and get ready to get out and wash, we always change so dispatch knows we have stopped pouring, which also tells them, if we have not contacted them on the radio, that they've had enough. All right, now let's wash down. There's certain ways you can do it to where you're very efficient washing down. I do it the same way every time. Always make sure your hopper's clean. There's quite a bit of buildup in the top of my chute. You can see where they have me washing out at. Now, here's the way I always wash. It keeps your drum clean, keeps your fins clean. You always hit the back of your fin. Now the whole front is clean. So we'll take a second, get all of this out of the top. Normally there's not this much built up. Make sure you get in behind your boot. You do not want leftover rock and concrete falling out. Now we're going to go back and finish here. Get my fins further back. I know it's hard to see because it is winter time and we're running hot water. Make sure your leaf holes are clean. One more shot up through here. And my drum is clean. Now let's do the chutes. Okay, so now it's time to do the chutes. I always hit my windshield real quick, just in case anything comes back out of the chutes up here onto the window, it won't stick. Now, doing the chutes, I also have a system for this. Go all the way up, as far as you can see, and then come all the way back down. Now, the majority's gone. So I go up again, hit in between my chutes where they come together, put it again back down, chutes are done that quickly. Now if you want, after you've done that, hit your window again. You can see a little bit had got on there. Now they're clean. One last inspection of the chutes are clean. And we're ready to hang our chutes and get back on the road. I have completed washing down. My hoses are on and secure. My chutes are on and secure. Always make sure so nothing falls off or falls down while going down the road. Now inside the truck, we need to make sure we turn off our low, which also will kick our hopper down. It sometimes takes a minute.
Hey, give me 20.
And there it is. Always pull to make sure. We are now ready to get on the road. So what we do next, push in our brake, put it in neutral, put it in reverse, make sure we are out of gear, out of low. I always do it twice to make sure. Your navigation, once you start down the road, will show dispatch that you are returning. And we'll pick this back up at the plant. Hello, today's video is on proper drainage of your truck in the wintertime. First thing you do is you make sure you still have plenty of air pressure in your tanks. Then shut your air off so when you start it the next day, your truck won't be trying to build air and do your tank at the same time. First thing you do, your drain valve. Crack it open a little bit. Go to your first hose. Start draining it. Start draining your first hose. Then your second hose. Now, while your hoses are draining and you're hearing nothing but air, nothing but air out of there, air out of here. You can crack this open a little bit more. We go around to the other side of the truck. Barely crack your air valve. Barely crack them. If you do it too much, it's going to blow most of the air. If you barely crack them, it'll help pull the water out of your system. Then you go to your main tank. Barely crack it. And as you see, a little bit of moisture is coming out there with it. Now we'll go back up front. Finish this off. Your water lines are all clear. Your air pressure is lowering. What you do now is you open up your valve that goes to adding water in the drum. Leave it open for a second, make sure everything comes out. Remember to shut it. Very, very important. You don't want to start your truck and go load and wash down and have this on because you'll end up with a wet load. So what we did, we drained our water system and our air system. Now let's check out our safety gear. Every truck will have one of these. If you do not have one, get it from your safety instructor. So we've got this book. You need a mask. You need OSHA approved safety glasses, mine are tinted. It's always good to have a pair of gloves, your hard hat, and your safety vest. Also make sure that you have your insurance card and current registration and the vehicle with you at all times.